you just click on stop recording, and
Okay.
it'll stop recording. And that's how you don't want to end. You don't want to close the session without clicking on stop recording, or you'll lose it. So
Okay.
click stop recording at the end, or you'll
Okay.
lose the video.
Okay.
All right. So I guess to get started, the first thing they always ask me to do, so I'll ask you the same thing, is just to introduce yourself. Spend as much or as little time as you want, giving us the 30-second elevator speech, or whatever you would give to any person that you want them to know everything about you that is relevant to what you want to say about yourself.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, Charles. I'm Julius Thompson. I'm a published author, and I have 6 books out: a trilogy, a young adult book, and a science fiction that will be coming out in the fall. I've been let me go back further than that. I grew up in New York City, and I worked with the City College of New York, and I worked as a copy boy at the New York Times, and then worked as full-time reporter for the Philadelphia Bulletin and Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And when I moved to Georgia, I became a full-time school teacher, and also I started to write my novels. And I taught 6 years at Evening at Emory Creative Writing Club. And what I did there, I taught creative writing. I helped a lot of authors get published, and I did that for 6 years. So now I'm just a full-time writer, except I'm finishing up my career as an English teacher. And what I like to do is to help people break barriers, help people to use their creative skills, and help people to develop who they are. And it's been interesting, and I appreciate you having me here.
Can you lower your camera a little bit, or your phone a little bit? Yeah, I want more of you and less of the ceiling. There we go. That's better.
You like that?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
So, okay, so you are a fiction writer, right?
Yes, I'm a fiction writer. And what I do is I can write mainstream, young adult, or science fiction. And what I've done over the years is I've tried to hone my craft by going to a lot of writing clinics, work with the Atlanta Writers Club, Georgia Writers Association. And what I try to do is to learn how to give ideas. I learn how to make people creative, to take their ideas and put them in print, and how to overcome barriers. And one of the things I like is, I always tell my students when I was teaching at Emory, is that you want to keep writing, keep believing, and never, ever give up. And to bring out inside of you what is that craft. Bring out those words, bring out those word pictures, bring out those images. And also, it's a whole process. And it won't be easy for the writing, for the publishing, and then for the marketing, because there's a whole process. It's not just one thing.
So, where do you get, is there any place where you get your inspiration from that you can, what do you tell people about, like writer's block, and they don't know what to write about, or can't come up with an idea? What do you tell them to do? Do you tell them to go back to their childhood, or do you tell them to look in the media? Where do you get your inspiration from, and how do you teach what do you teach about inspiration to your customers, to your clients, to your students?
Oh, when I taught them that there's no such thing as writer's block. What you have to do is you sit down, you have to use what is inside of you. And what I mean by that is, you first of all have to have an idea. And once you get your idea, then you have to expand on that. And I know sometimes, and I tell them this also, some days you're going to write 2 sentences. Some days you'll write 500 words. Some days you'll write 1,000 words. It's just like life. It's not going to be the same every day. And you've got to get used to that. And some days when it's not there and not coming out, then you write everything you can and you close that book or you close that computer. And then what you want to do is to come back the next day. And I learned a little trick also, Charles, is that when you write, never end the writing. Stop in the middle of something. And it's critical. For example, you're writing a scene and say chapter 1, don't end chapter 1. As you come near the end of chapter 1, stop. And when you come back to the computer, start at that point that will get you to writing, and then the juices start to flow. So what you don't want to do is to come to an end. Now you go cold turkey. You got to start again. It's just a little trick I learned from 2 great writers, Terry Kay and others, is the fact that don't end it, come close to ending it, and then the next day when you pick it up, you pick up from that point, and then you just move on with that. And I found that helps out a lot.
So you said you have 6 books or 5. How many books do you have?
I have one book called Jumpstarting Your Inner Novelist, which is a book on writing. And that's my only nonfiction. This is all the lessons and all the different ideas I had at Emory.
Hold it up, Laura. Okay, yeah, that's better.
And that's at Emory University.
Okay.
And it's everything is quick and it's sharp, and it teaches writers just the little tricks I just told you about. And that's my nonfiction book.
Okay.
Now, I have a trilogy. And what that is called, it's the Julius Thompson trilogy, and it's 3 books in there. And today I just show you number 1. This is called A Brownstone in Brooklyn. This is the first book. And the second book is Philly Style and Philly Profile. And the third book is The Ghost of Atlanta. And what it is, Charles, it's a 30-year journey of a character through the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. And it takes place in Brooklyn during the 60s and all the situations that are going on now that we're talking about now in the news. And it's just amazing that it seems like it never ends. It's just repeating itself. Philly Style, Philly Profile is about the gang warfare in Philadelphia and drugs and how that changed the whole community. And the third book is called The Ghost of Atlanta, Can You Go Home Again? And the character is Andy Michael Pilgrim. And I deliberately picked that last name Pilgrim because he is going on a pilgrimage of 30 years. And we see his changes. And The Ghost of Atlanta won a national award it was a gold medal book. And it won a national award from Reader's Favorite. And it beat out 200 other books for that gold medal. And I'm very, very pleased with that. And Phantoms of Rockwood is a young adult book. And I coach basketball and still coach. And it's about, and I had a lot of players, not a lot, but say 3 or 4 players that died. And it's a story about what happens when they give a second chance to come back to life again. And the last book, the book I'm writing now is called The Killer Kudzu. And it's a sci-fi. It's about how 2 scientists decided to experiment with the kudzu, and the kudzu's gone crazy, and it just turned into a cannibalistic plant. And it's all over the South. And it's a metaphor and symbolizes a lot of things about society and life, but it's a sci-fi. It's a pre-apocalyptic book, and it's like Pandemic or A.J. Tuggle's books about how society changes and the things that makes it either good or bad. So it's more than a sci-fi, it's more of a book about a psychology about what happens when something takes over for evil, and have to fight it and battle, and who has the heart to battle, who does not. So those are the books I'm finishing up now. The Killer Kudzu will be out in the fall, in late October or early November.
So of all your books, you keep up, I assume you keep up with the stats of each book. how many copies each one has sold. Which of your books has sold the most?
A Brownstone in Brooklyn celebrates its 20th anniversary today, this year. And it sold most of all the books because it's the oldest books. The other books sell, but it's not like tremendous sales. And that's what I'm working on now, how to improve that, how to get more than 10, 15 sales, every 4 or 5 months, 4 or 5 months. That's the thing I'm working on. That's where the marketing comes in. The Brownstone in Brooklyn, matter of fact, is in my books. I love because number one, how many independent authors have their books on the Barnes and Noble's brick and mortar store shelves? And they're there. How many independent authors have books in the libraries in Philadelphia, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles? And the Ghost of Atlanta and the Brownstone in Brooklyn are there. So it's financially, it's been good, but not great. And that's something I'm working on to see why I can't move that next level. It's hard to quantify the sales. The Ghost of Atlanta recently has picked up, even though it's about 4 years old. It's picked up. And the thing I like about the books I write is that they are still selling consistently, not spectacularly, not low, not high, but they're consistently being sold. And I think that's the thing that you want as an author is longevity. And I look back at how many books are written, yet how many books are still being bought now, like a Brownstone in Brooklyn, which is 20 years old, and it's still selling. And it's still being, being checked out of libraries. And that's the great thing when you go to a library checkout, like in Philadelphia, or either Chicago, Atlanta area. It's about, all my books in about 10 libraries across the country, and see it been checked out, which means a lot of people are reading, but some are reading for free. You don't get the benefit of that, but you do get your ideas in people's mind, and you get the thoughts, that you have. So I think that's very, very critical for an author.
So why do you think that particular book, of all your books that you've written, why do you think that book is the most popular of all of them?
I think of Brownstone in Brooklyn because it hits a note. I think, and the thing is, unfortunately, we're hitting that same note now. It's about the 60s. It's about discord. It's dealing with the time when change was happening. And as recently I watched television, it's like I'm looking at the Brownstone in Brooklyn all over again, because when I grew up in Brooklyn, I grew up during the riots. I know what it's like to be in a riot. I know what it's like when things go crazy. And it's amazing that people tell me they feel that. It's about the Vietnam War. So I think what it did, it captured a moment. It captured a moment in time. And I think when that book happens, and it's still going strong, and that would surprise me, it's still checking out on a regular basis at the library. And I just think that is just really tremendous.
So I got a whole boatload of questions about publishing, about indie publishing, because, for a while I've been wanting to get somebody to publish a book of my own. And it's you know as well as I do how hard it is to get an agent these days. So being as you and I are trying, or you are a indie publisher, you do print on demand, right? You didn't do bulk. You didn't do a standard publish. You did print on. Is it print on demand, right? All your books are print on demand.
Yes. And what happened? Yeah. I did not have it. I had an agent when I first started, and I spent 3 years of wasted time trying to get an agent, because, and like I told the Georgia Writers Association, I said, you're not looking for the themes and ideas that I have, and agents not looking for that. I said, this is not books where is you go into the ghetto, there's crime, there's hate, all that kind of stuff. It's not that kind of book. So they'll hit that audience. And it's not about things that people see every day. It's about typical mainstream ideas. So I just really forgot about that agent part. And what I did was, when I first started, when Brownstone came out in 2001, Matter of fact, Brownstone has always had been like I consider a hard luck book, because when it came out in 2001, it was right day or two after 9/11, and it got nothing publicity. This is the 20th anniversary, and I'm starting to work on that again, and it's hit with the pandemic happens. So it seems like the book can't catch a break, that something always dominating, something always changing. So what I did was, I said, how can I get my book published? And in 2001, there was a independent publisher called Publish America, which has since stopped publication. And I went to them, and they did a great job. I give them credit, did a great job. And the thing they did a great job with, Charles, is that they published the book as a paperback and a hardcover. So my first book was paperback and hardcover. And at that time, the ebooks was not big. There was no such thing as an ebook in 2001. So I started to work hard. I went to book fairs. I was invited to Miami for the Miami Book Fair, and I worked down there for two days. I spoke at the Virginia Festival of the Book twice, in Charlottesville at the University of Virginia, twice. I went to the Buffalo Book Fair. I went to the Baltimore Book Fair. I went to New York, the New York Book Fair. So I worked hard to promote the books. And now any indie writer, what you got to do is you have got to work. Because I learned from marketing people and from all my years as a newspaper reporter is, if you don't promote, nothing happens. You got to get out there, and you got to be, once you write the book, you have to become a marketer. You have to take your book and you have to get out and you have to work. You have to work the book.
So
now it's easier, Charles. And if you got a question about that, it's easier now to get your book published, and I explain why.
So you've had you had Publish America did your first book, right?
Yes.
And then who printed the other books?
Now, the other books have another publishing company out of New York, and it was called Gateway, and they did the second book, and they were independent. They were an independent publisher, and that was because I wrote Brownstone in 2001. I didn't write another book until around 2005 or 6, so it's like a 5-year gap between the first book and the second book. Because, tell you a funny story. I wrote the second book, Philly Style and Philly Profile, first. But then I realized that there was a story before that book. So I held that book back and I wrote a Brownstone in Brooklyn. And that came in 2001. So actually, Philly Style and Philly Profile, the second book, is about 45 years older than the Brownstone in Brooklyn. But Brownstone in Brooklyn was the first book I wanted out there because it was the first book of the trilogy. And then I had published Philly Style and Philly Profile with the second indie publisher. Again, it was just paperback. That was just paperback. And what's happened today in the last 7 years with the advent of the ebook, Audible, and all the other platforms, and the idea that you can get great editors, great cover designers, there is really no difference in the look of in the first years, there was a difference because most people didn't have editors, and they would tend to be poorly written. They would tend to be poorly edited. They would tend to have grammatical errors and all kind of things that just really took away from and gave any a bad name. But in the last 10 years, being an independent author is the way to go, because now you can control the look of your book, you can control the editing of your book, you can control the content of the book, and you don't have anybody changing things. And I learned from years of working and dealing with marketing is, if you get a publisher, and if your book does not sell in the first 2 or 3 months, they stop producing it. They stop producing it. And if they buy back, the worst thing in the world is, and at a conference, the agent told us, if say Simon and Schuster pulls back a book for that off the shelf, it's the saddest thing in the world. But before that book leaves that store, they rip the front cover off, and that is destroyed. It's destroyed back at the publishing house. It's destroyed, and you don't get many chances with a publisher. You get very little. You have very few people like Mary Trump come out and sell 1 million copies in a day. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for the next Harry Potter, the next Stephen King. And for the mid-level author, it is hard. And so that's why, and it took me a while to get over it. And I said, you know what, my book just as good is better than most people. And I said, I've done everything that they've done. My book's been on the shelves of Barnes and Nobles. I got pictures of it, and it's incredible. My book's in the libraries. My book is in Audible. My book's in ebook. And I have a hardcover and paperback. So I've done everything that these other quote unquote, published authors have done. And the thing now is you have different platforms. You have your ebook. And I tell anybody who want to really work on getting published is, if you go ebook, make sure you find a good publisher. Now you have 3 choices now. You can go to Smashwords, you can use Ingram Sparks, and you can use Kindle. You put your ebook on all the platforms, because the more platforms you have, the more chance you can sell your book. The Smashwords is strictly a ebook, but Ingram Sparks is paperback, ebook, and hardcover. And you can go to Kindle and you can get your book on Amazon. And with Amazon, you've got it in ebook and you have it in paperback. So as an independent author, you want to be able to get your book out as much as possible and get it out in a different, because once you get it out with Ingram Sparks, what they're good is now it can get in the libraries. Independent bookstores would take Ingram Sparks where they won't take Amazon. They won't take the paperback from Amazon, but they will take it from Ingram Sparks, because they're the original distributors. They distribute the books. So, and being an independent author now is totally different than it was even 7 years ago. And just opportunity now is just incredible, because you got great, with the internet, to what level the thing was, the internet changed things. The internet took it out of a few people, out of the agent's hands, and put it in the hands of people who have good ideas that can write as well as the other one, but they wouldn't give it a chance.
So how did you get your most recent book published? How was that published? Who published it, and how did you go about getting it published?
The last book I published was Phantoms of Rockwood. And what I did was, I after writing that book and got a great cover, and once I got the great cover, and I have a great editor, his name is Dennis DeRose. He's out of Middletown, New York. And I've been with Dennis 10 years now, and he's a great editor. And once we got Phantoms done, then the thing I did was I got someone helped me with formatting. That means, because each platform is different, and the setup the inside of the book is different for each platform. What I mean by that is, you can't have the same format for ebook as you can paperback. So once I got that set up, each one, I went to Smashwords, and I had Phantoms on Smashwords, once it was accepted, and that's automatic. And then I went to, so I wanted, and more than just the ebook, I wanted paperback. So with the paperback, that's when I went to Amazon and got it on paperbacks. And then once I got all my books, ebook and paperback, then I went back and I worked with audible.com. which is another source of income. And now it's an audiobook. That means you can get it. And a lot of people are buying the audiobook now. And when you go to audiobook, what you do is, it's very simple. You go in and you look the list, and they'll have voices, people who read the book for you, and you pick out the one you want and you share the profits. And you know what's great about this, Charles? You know how much it costs to do all this? $0. Ingram is free. Ingram Sparks is free. Ingram Sparks the only one. Let me take that back. Ingram Sparks charge $49.95 to do ebook and paperback. Smashwords is free. Kindle is free. And once you get in, you can buy. Your books are sold, but you can also buy your author copies of your book, which means you can get your book at half price. So when I go to different events, like if it wasn't for the pandemic, I work at the AJC Decatur Book Festival every year as a stage captain. And what I do was I can go there and I with Atlanta Writers Club certain time, I sell my book there. Or I go to different events and sell books. I go to small studios and sell books. I go to small festivals and sell books. So you get a way of not only getting a little extra cash, but you buy your, say Ghost of Atlanta costs $9.95. Well, I can get it from Kindle as an author discount. I can get the paperback for $4.95. So therefore, when I sell it, I sell it $9.95. Well, I can make $5 on the book. And if I go there, I can sell like 10 to 15 books, and I make a little extra cash that I have that I wouldn't have. Plus, your book gets out, you get the autograph the book, so you do a lot of different things with that.
So the book you're currently writing, when you get through with it, will you change your print strategy in any way? Where you, like, let's say, let me give you a scenario. You know how the old traditional publishing publishes large copies of hard copy first, and then they sell as many of those as they can get, and then when it starts dying down, then they put it out as a soft cover book, and then and they branch out from there. But that's a strategy. That's the traditional publishing strategy. So you had a strategy, different strategy for each of your books. Is this next strategy for your book you're writing now going to be different from your last book, and how?
Well, what's going to be different is I'm using 3 platforms now. The other book, the last book I had was in 2011, and that was Phantoms of Rockwood. So it's been almost 9 years since I put out a book. Now, what I'm doing, the process is this, and here's how it works. Right now, I have, my book is finished. It's almost 60,000 words. It's gone out to 5 beta readers. And for the audience, a beta reader is a person that gives you an overview of the book. It's being kept for 5 different people, about 5 weeks. So when they return the book to me, I look at their comments. Does the book flow? Are the characters really stand out? Is there any inconsistencies? For example, when I wrote Brownstone, I didn't realize it. The beta reader told me, he said, Julius, how can John be having dinner in chapter 12 when you killed him in chapter 3? So they pick up things, that you do. So once they get back from the beta readers and I revise it, and that'll be about mid-August, maybe like 3rd week of August, then I send it to Dennis DeRose, my editor in New York, and he will keep it for another 3 weeks and do the final edit. And then it comes back to me, then I go through it and I make the changes I feel are necessary and keep the changes I want. Now, once I do that, now this is things I have not done before. Now I have 8 people who are going to read the book and post reviews on Amazon. And during this time frame, they'll be reading the book. Now, what I'm going to do is in late September and early October, then that's when I'm going to send the book to Amazon, So it'll go out as an ebook, same time, and paperback. I'll send the book to Ingram Sparks. It'll go out as an ebook, paperback, and hardcover. And then I send the book to Smashwords, and it's going out as an ebook. Right now, I have a great cover artist, and we're discussing the cover now. And the cover, I have a preliminary cover now, so I can start marketing. What you do is, for the last year and a half, I have been marketing the book on social media, on all over. And so now the book you have to really start almost a year and a half early, even though you're not finished, because you will get the name of your book out, the title out, you'll get your idea for the book and get that out. You want to talk about it on different platforms, like I was on YouTube, Blog Radio about a month ago, discussing the book. In August, I'm going to be on a radio station, a live radio station in the afternoon talking about the book. And 2 weeks later, I'm going to be on Instagram Live talking about the book. So all this is building up. So in September, the book will go there, and it will have a release date, hopefully like around October 15th. And you do that because the strategy is that's when people start to buy books and stuff for Christmas and the gift season. So now you hit that market there right at that right moment. And now at that time, when the books come out a day or two later, then the book reviews start to hit. And with Amazon, the more book reviews you get, the higher rated the book, and the chance of moving the book up on their list, which means the more that happens, the more exposure you get, the more people see the book. And the more people see the book, the more chance of buying the book. And around about during that early September period, I'm gonna have sent the book to and the same audio person that did Philly Style and Philly Profile is going to do the audio for Killer Kudzu, and I want the audio to come out around Christmas time. So strategy now is it's slow. Right now, I'm in a lull, and that means the book is, for I'm certain, it's finished now until I get the beta readers back. But for future artists, future authors, I learned this from Terry Kay. The minute you write your last word on a book, don't get up from there. Start to work on your next book. And I started to work on my next book called Stormy Winds, which I'm aiming for 2022 publication. And it's about, you can never go home again. It's really my Macbeth. It's a dark book about facing problems and the things you face every day. So I'm working on that right now. So you never want to get out the habit of writing. You never want to get out the habit of organization and marketing. So right now I'm working on the new book for 22. I'm finishing up this book, Killer Kudzu, and doing it's called a book launch period. It's the book launch period where I'm launching the book, but it goes out in stages. And right now the stages is the cover's been developed and it's being read and edited. So it's a process, and you have to learn to market, and you have to balance the time. What I try to do, and I learned this from a really good marketer, is you spend about 1 hour a day. It had to be all at one time. About 1 hour a day marketing your book in different platforms on social media, and try to pick out 1 or 2 that you're really good at. You can't be willy-nilly jumping from east to west to south to north to northeast. You got to pick out 1 or 2, become really good at those, and then you move that to the next level. So right now, it's a process of just doing a lot of different things. Like you see me on LinkedIn. And so I go on LinkedIn for certain things I want to do. But you have to have an organization. You have to have a checklist. So right now, my checklist, I know exactly what stage I'm in. So I know in the book launch stage for Killer Kudzu, I'm in the writing stage for Stormy Winds, and I'm in the marketing stage all the time, keeping the other books alive. You can't forget your other books. You can't forget your other books. Now, once I get kudzu done and out, then it's going to be sent to readers' favorite and other book contests. And it's going to be sent to sci-fi websites, dystopian websites, all kind of websites to get it out. And once you get a momentum going, and that's why it's important for those, of all the things I've done, those 9 reviews are important, because when the book comes out, it hit immediately with 9 reviews. Now people can see, oh, this is interesting, let me see. And for the first time, Charles, I have to really, I thought about this a lot. This cover has to be totally different, and the cover had to be done. And it has to be done by someone who knows sci-fi, who knows how to take marketing of sci-fi, and who knows how to get their point across. So right now with this, I am had to spend a little money that I normally would spend on the cover.
Sorry about that. My wife is making noise in the background.
So that's the process I'm in now, which is it's kind of limbo now, because when you get to the point, the book is done, except for the editing part. Now the writing is done. Now you do the editing part. And also a point I want to tell young writers is you cannot write and edit at the same time. You cannot write or edit. You got to write, get it out, and then you go back and edit, because it's like trying to drive a car when you have the gas and the brakes. It just don't work. You're either writing or you're editing. Right now I'm in the editing phase.
So, how do you pick your reviewers? And how, you said you had 5 reviewers. How do you pick them?
Beta readers.
Beta readers.
Yeah, it's called a beta reader. To tell people that it's called the beta reader, and they're not an editor now; they're a beta reader. And what I did was, one of them is, I'm a member of a writing club at the library, and she is specialized in science fiction. So the librarian now is the one beta reader. Then I have another beta reader who, 2 beta readers my editor picked out. They're really good. And what I did was I just went on the internet and I said, I need beta readers, and you read my book and I'll read your book. And so I got 2 more. So I got 2 more beta readers.
So you, just people you know is the beta readers, right? People associated.
But what I did with the beta readers, y'all, is different now. What I tell them is I want a brutal honesty. I get them criteria, 7 things I want them to look for. Number 1, is the character well developed? Are the characters well developed? Number 2, is it interesting? Number 3, does it fall off a cliff? Which means most authors, what happen is they'll start off great, but then human beings get tired. And midway the book, you have a fall. That's why I tell that when I teach creative writing, I taught them that the most important part of your book is the middle part of your book. Because most books, how many times have you seen people read a book and right after page 100, they close the book because it just fell off a cliff. They just lost interest. They didn't keep them. It didn't keep the reader focused, and you did not give the reader a reason to turn the page. Page turn is not just a cliche. It's where you want things to happen. So my goal as an author is have the reader turn the page, turn to the next page, turn to the next page. That means that plot has got to flow. And that's why it takes a little longer. Now each beta reader would, certain dates, and if each one of them, the shortest period of time, they would get it back to me like 3 weeks, because that's what they're looking for, and I see any flaws they see, any flaws in what they want done.
Hold on a second. I gotta lock out my wife, service my dogs, let them in and out of the door. So, all right. So you've got you pick your beta readers, all right, and you let them read your book, and you read their books, and you edit your book based on your beta readers.
Right.
And so your strategy for your next book is going to be, you said you were going to go with which publishing house first and second and third? What exactly?
All at the same period. It'll be like within a day or two. I'm going with Kindle for do the ebook and paperback.
KDP.
Ingram, yeah, KDP,
Yeah.
KDP. And then the Ingram Sparks would do the paperback, the ebook, and I want some hardcovers on this one. And then Smashwords would just be for ebooks only, ebooks only. And you do that now. What happened is those books are put out with distributors. So one you may get on Kobo, which is a place to sell books. One you get on iBooks. One you may get on this platform. One you may get on that selling platform. With KDP, you get on about 7 platforms. Ingram Sparks, you get on platforms the other 2 can't, because most independent book publishers will not take books from Amazon because they can't return them. But with Ingram Sparks, they can be returned. So that makes it a lot different.
So I know that on any of the platforms, whether it's Amazon or KDP/Amazon or Ingram Sparks or probably Smashwords too, you have a percentage that you set for it, which is the discount. How do you choose your discount?
It what sales? Like for example, you gotta be careful. Like, what I do is right now I'm looking at dystopian books, sci-fi books. I'm trying to see what is the going price, because I never had a sci-fi book out before. Is it most dystopian books sold at $7.95, or most other books sold at different prices? So now what I want to see is, what are they going for? If, for example, the Ghost of Atlanta, because it won a national award, I charge a little more because it's got a gold medal, beautiful gold medal. So what it's like $2 more than the other books. I know Brownstone an older book, so I charge less for that. So you can get a good paperback copy of Brownstone for like $7.95, and you get like a ebook for like $2.95 and $2.99. Now, do you always charge something? You always charge something. Now, what happened was with Smashwords, they have a discount. For right now, they're going through a discount period where you sell your books for like 99 cents for like a month, and they do extra promotion for it. So something like that I will do, because now you get before more people, and more people will see it, And now they have the other time, 5 months ago, they had something in the wintertime and that's why I like them. So you start and get your rep built up, because they have a lot of books. Once a person reads one book, and then now they want to read another book, and then they want to read another book, and now they want to read another book. So what you want to do is to get it out there so you get your audience and you build your audience up. And that's what I'm doing, is building audience up and building the brand up. And you can't charge too much, and you can't charge too less. You got to be able to find that perfect way of doing that.
So when I asked you about discount a while ago, you were focusing on the actual what you would charge, whereas I was really asking not so much what you were going to charge for the book, but the discount that the store, or there's a discount that is different from the cost of the book. It's you know what I'm saying? Like, For
Yeah.
instance, go ahead.
What it is this. Say, for example, right now on Amazon, you can get Jump Started Young Novelist for $3.99. Out of that, I will get $1. I would get like $2.50 out of that, and Amazon would get $1.50 out of that. So it depends on what the book is sold for. If it's like $11.95 to say Philly Style, say The Ghost of Atlanta, then I would get about $7 out, and it depends on who it's sold from, where it's sold from. So it depends on the price of the book. Now, it's amazing. Charles, you won't believe this. Brownstone, I told you, was a hardcover. Well, in 2001, I signed a hardcover, and amazing when you go to book fairs, some people only buy hardcovers. So I do hardcovers sometime because now I can get another audience. They don't buy paperback, and you only sign it a certain way. You sign it like under your name, no date or nothing. Just sign with a black pen. That's all they want. They want a certain crease. It's really crazy to watch them. They may go through a pile of your books and pick out one book because there's the perfect crease, it has the perfect way it's set up. And don't ask me why they do that, but that's why they hardcover fanatics. Now, I signed one book for this guy, and I remember the book I signing, and it was like either Miami or New York. And I thought no more about it. I look on eBay, and do you know how much he's selling that book for now? I got $8.95 for the book. I'm glad you're sitting down when I tell you how much the copy of that book sold for, that he sold it for. Try $800. Because it was a signed copy from 2001, 20 years ago. And people, it's the hardcover industry, and people buy books like that. For example, I have another book on Amazon from Philly Style, Philly Profile, and it sold for $41. It's just amazing how, and I get none of that. Once you sell a book and sign it, then that's it. You have no other rights to it. It's
So
just
the guy sold your book for $800.
Yes, he did. Because he sold to another hardcover collector because of the title and the content of it. You know, because it's a brownstone in Brooklyn, the name of it, and it's about the East 60s. And so the guy wanted a book about the 60s, you know, have that. And a brownstone also is in Brooklyn. They have at the Brooklyn Borough Hall, they have a section where all the books written about Brooklyn are located, and mine is in there. They have the great book, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Original edition is in there. A Brownstone in Brooklyn is in there, and other books about Brooklyn. So that book took off, you know, and it, like I said, it's not made tremendous amount of money, but culturally, I think it's going to be a book that lasts, that people are going to really keep going back and forth to, because when they see it deals with how an ordinary person, not the John Lewis's, I just had an ordinary person reacted to that particular time period and what was going on in everyday life. And that's why it captures that moment. And it's amazing how, and I tell that because here's the price of books. And just think about it. If you told me that somebody would sell that book for that amount of money 20 years later, I said, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. Well, but it doesn't matter if a certain market wants the book and a certain book is out there, it's going to sell.
I've heard rumors that the trick to get into the hardcover, to get into the regular bookstores is you got to be able to return it. That's why Ingram Spark gets that, and you have to have a certain amount of discount, because if there's not a good enough discount, the bookstores won't buy it. That's why they don't go from Amazon, because Amazon doesn't give them a discount.
Right. So, here's the thing I meet, Charles. The Ghost of Atlanta got into on the bookshelf because it's a form you fill out. And I filled the form out and I sent it back to the main place, people who look at the books and decide what books go in the bookshelves. And so I didn't think I was going to get in the bookshelf. Then I went to my local Barnes and Nobles, and the one that's near me in suburban Atlanta. And I talked to the owner. He said, you know what, I like this title. I like this idea. And so he called him up, and in a matter of a couple of days, I look up, and not only he has a Ghost of Atlanta on the bookshelves, but he has a Brownstone in Brooklyn. And then I saw the book again in Norcross, and it's been on shelves all over Atlanta, bookshelves all over Atlanta. And it goes back to you talk the book up, you talk to the right people, and they help make that decision. And the book is, like you said, was done by Amazon, and it's there, and it's sold, and all books are sold, and they're sold. So they're sold off the shelves. I think that would surprise them too, that it's sold off the shelf. So I know exactly what you're saying, but it's always exceptions. And I think I'm more the exception than the rule. I know I'm more the exception than the rule, because I know a lot of people been trying for years to get books, and I know some people who are published regular they get their book in Barnes and Noble. So I think it depends on, finally caught one break, it didn't sell, like I said, it didn't sell 1 billion copies, but it got there and it made an impact. And I think that's very critical, that you have to be able to do that, to work hard. The other thing about working hard for your books, to keep them alive.
So Ingram Spark allows you to have a discount between 30 and 55%.
Right.
The discount that I guess that's the discount that they give the bookstore
to take the books,
so that the bookstore gets a big enough profit from your book.
Got it.
So what are you going to, on your next book, going through the Ingram Spark portion of it, are you going to choose 30% or 55%, or what are you going to choose, and how are you going to choose that discount?
What I'm going to do, I'm going for the highest discount, because I want it in the independent bookstores. I'm going to get the highest discount so they can get the book in the bookstores.
So you're going to go for 55%?
Yes, I'm doing that because it's going to be on other platforms that I can get a little more on that. But I want it where I can get it into independent bookstores. Like a friend of mine has a bookstore here called Eagle Eye. And I had a book sign in there. I've had books in there. He told me, he said, Julius, I can't take your books on a regular basis because of Amazon. But now I can go to him and say, 55, now he's going to take it. And now he talked to other bookstores that can take it. So I'm using different strategy. I'm using Ingram Sparks to get into independent bookstores.
Right.
Like half price books, like Eagle Eye Bookstore, like all the bookstores around, all the independents. So now it's a different strategy. I will take a loss, 55%, take less, but guess what? It's on the bookshelves.
Well, some people think that you should, because it's easiest to start with Amazon or KDP to Amazon, because it's the easiest. And then other people think, well, start with Ingram Spark because you get into the bookstores, and then go with Amazon or KDP after that to get your soft cover, and to get the because Amazon dominates. First of all, Ingram Spark is the largest distributor in the world for books.
Got it.
And they allow you to return. They give the big discounts. That's how they get into the bookstores. But on the other hand, Amazon dominates paperback and everything else. Mm-hmm. So, but not in the bookstores. So most people don't actually, I don't know which is which. I think most people don't even go into a bookstore. They just get on Amazon and look around. But so I don't know if there's a question in there, but
you have a question, Charles, and the question is this: you do both.
Yeah, I understand that, but my point is okay. You have to do one first, and then the next day or the next hour or whatever, do the next one. And
Got it.
Like with Amazon, they say don't choose the there's a check in there where you can choose wider distribution, and you don't want to check that because you want Ingram Spark to get that piece. And so you got all these little pieces of publishing. It's hard. You got to remember all those little pieces.
Yes.
I'm gonna send you. I think I've got this document on self-printing, and it's got suggestions and questions that all these people have. I'm gonna send it to you. You can play with it and see what you think, and it might be something that can help you or help other people through you. And I really appreciate you being on my show.
Okay.
And it's been a pleasure. And we got about 4 minutes to kill here before we come up to the full hour.
Okay.
And so you can promote anything or say anything if you got a website, or if you got something you want to tell the average reader or the average writer. You might tell them, come to my come to Emory and become my student, or whatever. Anything you want to say. You got 4 minutes to get it out. What do you want to say?
First thing is, remember, A Brownstone in Brooklyn, great book, 20 years old and still going strong. Next thing is, go to my website at killerkudzuattacks.com, killerkudzuattacks.com, and you will never look at kudzu and you drive down the road again the same way. And just a few points I want to talk to right quickly about writing. The thing you have to when you write is you have to be confident. You have to be confident in what you're writing, and you have to believe in yourself. I had a great young student who published her book, and it called Effie in Progress. And she came there, and we worked on her getting started. It was a matter of 3, by her writing a chapter every other week, because she had 2 kids, a husband, and she was an executive at Coke, the Coke you drink. So she was busy. But I showed her how to work at a special rate. I showed her how to work at her own pace, how to put this together. And in less than 2 years, she had her first book, Effie in Progress. So I want to tell the reader that you can do it, but work at your own pace. I do private, where I go to Starbucks and work with people, and just email me at consultwithjulius@gmail.com, consultwithjulius@gmail.com. And we can work remotely. I have a packet I send out, and I can help any individual person that wants to become a great writer. Not if you say a good writer, and a person that get the basic ideas out. And I'm be very, very happy to work with you. But also, I would like people to get to know my books, because through doing that, you can see a mirror on why we are today, where we are today, why we this way today. And I think in years to come, a friend of mine told me, said, Julius, in years to come, when people pick up those books, they're going to have a reflection of why they are the way they are. And I think that's going to be the biggest satisfaction, knowing that when I'm gone, those books are still going to be read, whether it's in the library or whatever format we have, they're going to be read. And I think that's the main thing. And also I want to tell the writers, it's hard, but keep writing, keep believing, and never, ever, ever give up on your dreams.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being on my show, and I've learned a lot, and I've still got a million questions to ask you, but I'm going to send you this document, and you'll kind of get an idea of where I'm lost and where I'm not lost, and maybe you'll come up with some ideas, and I'll send it back, And when does your next class start that you're teaching?
Right now I'm teaching high school. So right now I'm only working with, and I left Emory about 5 years ago. And so I work with individuals individually. So anytime a person want to start working, just let me know, consultwithjulius@gmail.com. And I'll be more than glad to set up a plan and to help you reach that dream of holding that book in your hand. Because there's nothing like that when you get that box and you open up and you see that book that you wrote. It's just the best feeling in the world. There's nothing like that. Nothing like that.
So you're teaching high school now, right?
Yes, I teach at Cross Keys High School. I teach English. And right now we will start virtual. My district in Georgia, we will go virtual for the first month. And then they'll decide whether we go back to the classroom or not because of what the COVID pandemic. And they are taking it very slow and very careful.
So when you teach virtual, have you got all your virtual, how are you going to do your virtual? How's that going to work?
Well, we use a platform called Verge, and I use Google Classroom, where I can have interaction with it, just like I'm talking to you, with the students. Also, I can grade their papers, I can do projects, I can teach a lesson like this and send it out to all the students, and they can react to it, and I do real time like this. So for example, if a student having trouble, then say I teach during the week, and say on Friday, I'll have 2 hours set aside. I say from 1 to 3, call me and we do a virtual tutoring session where I can go over with anything that they're wrong, anything they're doing wrong. So the only difference is I'm not sitting there across from them. And I can't like put marks on their papers, but I can grade their papers and make general comments about it.
So you use Google Classroom for your primary class?
Yes, Google Classroom, and it's gotten better. I mean, they have really upgraded. They have really worked hard on that. I mean, it's good. I have a one for every class. So every class is set up separately. So that class I can go over, I can grade, I can teach. For example, we'll start off in the year. We'll be doing the Odyssey because I teach 9th grade. So I will start off with a teaching lesson on the Odyssey. The books. They have their books on the phone or their computer, so they have everything right there. So when I'm teaching, they have their book right there. The only difference is I'm like talking to you. I'm not physically in the room with them.
So do all your students have computers, or do some of them actually take a class on a phone?
But they have both. Most of them have. Kids are crazy, and they have the Chromebooks. We have 100,000 students in DeKalb County, and 100,000 have Chromebooks. So they created hotspots. So if your parents can't afford the internet, each one is given a hotspot to use where they get on the internet. So there's no excuse for them not getting on the internet. The only reason you don't get on the internet and do your work is because you, typical student, is lazy and don't want to do the work.
So they've all got computers?
Yes. And the county bought them. I was saying to myself, you know how much money they're making, the computer people making, the Chromebooks are making? Just imagine, this is one county now, 100,000 Chromebooks. You know how much they made on that deal? And don't forget the other counties are doing it too. So between DeKalb, Gwinnett, Cobb, Fulton, and Atlanta, you're talking about close to 500,000 computers. You know how much money they make?
So how do you feel about this war between the governor and the
mayor?
Mayor of Atlanta, yeah.
Here's the problem is, and see, he talks out of both sides of his mouth. He has went around the state encouraging everybody to wear masks. Well, she's in the area in Atlanta, Charles, where it is nasty, and the greater hospital and places are going to be overloaded. And she just made it. And she told people, "You're not going to keep spreading this." And so she just said, made it mandatory. The only difference between what she's saying and he said is, he He pleading with people to do it. And she said, you must do it. That's the difference. You must wear your mask and you walk outside. You must wear it. And he's just saying to please do it for the benefit of society, do it, and going all this talking. And she told the city of Atlanta, in the city of Atlanta limits, you're going to wear the mask. You know, that's the difference. It's all it is. Saying the same thing, but just different, different ways.
So the rule within the city limits of Atlanta, you have to wear a mask outside.
You got to wear a mask. Because it's the most densest part of the state and it has the largest outbreak.
Yeah. And
it's more older people there. I mean, those and you can't really social distance a lot there because it's just the way the place is a bit, those apartments and stuff just so close that you have to have an extra layer there. And he don't see that. I mean, you can't have, because you have some people not going to do it. And all of a sudden, one person go in a grocery store and now he or she done infected, 15 to 20 people, in the grocery store. So, and she's saying it's not going to happen. Stop it.
So how are you going to be having any fear when you go back to in-person classes?
Yes, I'm wearing a face mask. I mean, a mask. And I think the DeKalb County had a rule in you must have a mask on for everybody, including students. If you go back in person, you must have a mask on. Now, and what the teachers have told them, if a student walks in and wears a mask, you get out. Don't even come in the room. Get out and send them home. That's how tough it is, because we're not going to be in there. They found out a quarter to half of the CAPS teachers are in the vulnerable range. So you can't have all those people, with these people walking around like they're willy-nilly. And for example, we were saying, how are you going to have gym class when you have 100 kids in the same area? How are you going to lunchroom with 250 kids in there, shoulder to shoulder? Well, they don't think, how are you going to do that? So one thing is the city may do as we go back is the teacher's going to move from room to room and the students don't move. That means students stay in the room all day.
Well, when I was in high school, I knew a German kid from Germany, and he had 2 year. I don't remember what grade I was in. I was like 10th grade or 11th grade. He already had 2 years of college math, and he already had all these advanced college classes credits, and he was in high school. And he said in Germany, that's what they do. The kids stay in the same spot. The teachers move from class to class. So that's how the Germans do it.
Yeah. And Canada had grade 13. They have 13th grade there. It's called grade 13. So everybody's different, really, really different.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with your staying COVID-free.
Thank you.
Your class in the future. And what I would suggest for Jim, I'm a big Frisbee fanatic. I always have been. My wife won't play with me anymore, but for COVID, it'd be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
You get a whole bunch of kids outside and they can spread out as far as they want to spread and then throw the Frisbee and run around and get plenty of exercise trying to catch the Frisbee and never get close to each other.
I know.
I think it's a perfect form of exercise.
I know. Charles, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much too. Have a good day, and let me stop the recording and